Hello to all my fans and friends, I'm the Pyjama Critic, and since I don't have a swimming pool on the roof of my building and a Glasgow winter would prevent me from enjoying it if I did, I'm here in the Slumber Lounge talking about movies. Youth subcultures have always made for fascinating material for filmmakers. Young people and their newfangled interests and attitudes are ripe for display like zoo creatures. New technology is also prime subject matter for stories exploring the many new opportunities and dangers on offer. So in the mid-90s, when the internet exploded into the lives of the general public, resulting in a brand new youth movement all about computers, software and programming, there was intrigue and huge potential for a whole new kind of crime drama. Add to that the widespread use of codes, outspoken beliefs about freedom of information, and fear among the wider public that these kids might actually have some real knowledge and power this time, and it's no surprise that we saw many new movies about the world of hacking. Many of these movies were forgotten as quickly as they arose, but there are some that have gained a cult following, not by being accurate to the world of cybercrime, I'll get to that as we go along, but really just by capturing the imagination of audiences who are simultaneously fascinated and fearful of this new underground world. This movie is one from that time period that just seems to hit in the right place and make its mark, so join me as we take far too close a look at Hackers. Released in 1995, directed by Ian Softley and starring Jonny Lee Miller, Angelina Jolie, Matthew Lillard and Fisher Stevens, the film tells the story of a group of hackers who stumble onto something much bigger than they ever expected, making enemies of an expert cybercriminal and the authorities. They must use their expertise to clear their names and expose the truth. First off, we are given a little backstory in our main character, as we are shown armed police raiding a suburban Seattle home in 1988. It appears to be trying to make this look like some sort of terrorist raid or drugs bust, but of course we all know we're watching a movie called Hackers, so it should be obvious what kind of raid this is. Cut to the hacker on trial, and we get this little gem of a reveal that was legitimately funny if you're watching this for the first time. It is revealed he has single-handedly crashed Wall Street, and the judge is ruthless.
Sentence you to probation, under which you are forbidden to own or operate a computer or touch-tone telephone until the day of your 18th birthday.
That was a real form of sentencing issued to hackers and crackers throughout the 80s and 90s. It fell out of fashion as the years went on and computers and the internet became so entwined with everyday life, it has become a ridiculous and completely unenforceable restriction. Still, it would be a severe blow to a kid like this who lives on his computer, and as the 90s progressed, all he could do was watch from afar as the internet flourished. Cut forward 7 years and we see the young adult Dave Murphy, played by Jonny Lee Miller, is moving to New York with his mother, played by Alberta Watson, and we get this wonderful effect that still holds up after 25 years as New York morphs into a circuit board, showing us just how young Dave Murphy sees the world. Next we see he has turned 18 and is right back into his old hobby.
Dave?
Yeah, Ma?
What are you doing?
I'm taking over a TV network.
Presumably all those years he wasn't able to use a computer, he was doing a lot of reading and staying up to speed, as the world of tech would have changed drastically in 7 years, but he is completely unfazed. Another hacker spots his antics, somehow knows where to contact him, and we get this overly animated chat. Everything that happens on the computer in this movie is accompanied by elaborate animations, purely for the benefit of the audience, who would soon tire of watching endless images of text and code on screens, so the movie abandons realism in favour of aesthetics in that respect. He decides in the moment to duck his reputation and give himself a new alias.
Unbelievable.
There is time only for fear.
A hacker.
Well, obviously, who did you think was contacting him in this way about being on that earth? A train spotter?
Yeah, okay, acid burn. That's enough.
Now, the elaborate graphics on the computer when they're computing I can overlook, but this battle of equipment in a TV studio is just ludicrous. It's all the way to demonstrate the online exchange that ends with the other hacker cutting his internet somehow. It is worth remembering that this was 1995. The majority of the audience for this movie didn't even have email addresses, so when they saw things like this that make absolutely no sense to us today, they would have just accepted it as computer people doing their computer things. A little back and forth between Crash and his mother.
Yes, I'll ask. Jade? You like girls, don't you?
Right, Mom. And I'm still a virgin.
You hooked it up to the phone, didn't you?
Yes, that's called using the internet. And we're off to his new school. Jonny Lee Miller spent 6 weeks learning to rollerblade for this movie, but never got the hang of jumping upstairs, so this shot had to be cut short. As is a tradition with movie kids starting at a new high school, all the people he meets on his first day are those who will become his friends later. All the people walking in this corridor, and he can only ask the boy who's clearly busy on the phone. Still, remember that face. He's shown around the school by Kate Libby, played by Angelina Jolie.
Here's your class.
My class? You mean I'm not in your class?
No, you're not in my class.
This was as good a time as any to draw attention to Jonny Lee Miller's accent. For those who don't know, Jonny is from the south of England. He proved the following year he can do a convincing Scottish accent, but American, as it turns out, is not his skill. It is terrible, and oddly sounds like he's trying to put on a New Yorker voice, but he's supposed to be from the other side of the country. Still, Crash seems to fall for Kate, and she gives him the school tour, finishing with a mention of the swimming pool on the roof of the building. This is of course a traditional prank for all new arrivals at this school, and Crash, despite his superior intellect, falls for it in spectacular fashion. Despite this leaving him somewhat bitter towards Kate, he still wants to be in the same class as her, so he works his magic on the school registration system, drawing the attention of his new best friends. Enter Phantom Freak, played by Renee Lee Santiago, a sprightly and charming Puerto Rican actor who has appeared in a lot of TV projects since this, but never seems to get the spotlight he deserves. Freak is a phone expert who sees Crash at work and can tell he would be a great addition to the circle. Also the keen wannabe hacker Joey, played by Jesse Bradford, so green he doesn't have an online handle yet. Got the skills and a thirst to prove himself, but struggles to be taken seriously by the other hackers.
Look, alright, wait, how about the Master of Disaster, huh?
You're hopeless, man. Utterly hopeless.
Ultra Laser. Dr. Doom.
Crash is invited to a club at the weekend, the local cyber cafe, skate park, arcade, nightclub thingy. Here we get our first sight of Serial Killer, played by Matthew Lillard, a ripper. His big thing is to find illegal files of songs and other media and burn them onto CD and sell to the public. Yes kids, there was a time when a young man could actually make a living doing that. This movie does make a really good job of teasing the characters as we go through the first act of the movie. Usually any kind of coming of age story sets the characters up one at a time. Here's the first friend, here's the love interest, here's the next new friend. Here we get all the new people in Crash's life being introduced practically side by side in an interwoven manner, kind of like the movie itself is multitasking. That is certainly how these next few sequences work, as we rapidly see Crash develop his hate-love-hate relationship with Kate, complete with reactions from his new friends. Crash beats Kate at the 90s The Game.
Congratulations. No one's ever beat her before. Just made an enemy for life.
Hacks the school's mainframe to make the sprinklers go off to get back at her, shows up in her lit class, annoying her by being expected there.
You, however, are not on my list.
Whoa, this isn't woodshop class?
Freak is loving his antics, and Serial is just goofing along around him. Now back to the club, where Crash is formally introduced to Serial and bonds with the others as he shows just how much reading he has done, and agrees with them that Joey just isn't there yet. They also casually discuss what they consider would be the hardest hack to pull off.
You score one of those Gibsons, man. You know, supercomputers they use to, like, do physics and look for oil and stuff?
Ain't no way, man. Security's too tight. The big iron.
And next thing we know, Joey is hacking a Gibson, the mainframe that controls oil tankers, from his bedroom. Clearly this kid is much better than they give him credit for. This scene also introduces us to the main villain.
Never fear. I is here.
I've narrowed the activity to Terminal 23.
Let's Echo 23, see what's up.
The Plague, played by Fisher Stevens, master hacker who maintains a front as a legitimate cybersecurity specialist. Also his sidekick Hal, played by Penn Jillette. Joey attempts to copy a seemingly innocuous file as evidence of his hack, and once again we get this elaborate 3D rendering. My theory about these visuals is that it's not happening on screen, but it's just a representation of the hacker's excitement at achieving these things, and it's all playing out in our head. While the security team gets a trace on Joey, his pursuit is ultimately thwarted by the one force that not even the best team computer geek can get past. Mum ordering him to bed and turning off his computer mid-download, which somehow leads to him getting half the file on his disk. I know this movie's big trick was to bamboozle the audience with tech speak and exploit their limited understanding of computers, but even in 1995 it was generally understood that copying files is an all or nothing deal. Lose connection halfway through a download and you just end up with meaningless data clogging up the drive you are trying to copy to. Anyway, time to follow Crash and friends to a ghetto, where they plan on introducing him to somebody.
You heard of a hacker called Acid Burn? You know who he is?
No. Don't know who he is. Do you?
I don't think it's much of a spoiler to say that they do know who Acid Burn is, but at this point they don't feel they know Crash well enough to tell him.
Night Kane. Can I crash your place tonight?
Again? Yeah, sure.
Enter Lord Nikon, played by Lawrence Mason, the final member of this little troupe. A little older than the others, he's no longer in school and has his own apartment that is usually used as the centre of operation and general hangout for the group. We also get our first sight of Dick Gill, one-time Secret Service agent, now a detective dedicated to tackling cybercrime, despite not being at all well educated about computers. As well as Razor and Blade, hosts of a pirate TV show about hacking.
Just a simple micro cassette recorder. Hook it up to the phone and drop in $5 in quarters.
Record the tones that the coins make, and hang up and get your money back.
Oddly enough, it's the characters that take this movie more than the old-style computer systems and graphics. These two are sending out their message to the world by hijacking the airwaves, but just a few years later, YouTube entered the world stage and it became possible for anybody to do that legitimately. Same thing with the Freak. His main skill, we see, is with phones and getting free calls to all over the world. Anyone can do that now and there's nothing illegal about it. Incidentally, that trick they mentioned with using recordings of phone tones was obsolete even then, which is why they were able to show exactly how it was done on screen. Joey gets arrested by the FBI, who may seem a little heavy-handed for a bust of a non-violent teenager, but they are at least polite enough to let him finish his shower. We soon find out that the Plague has big plans of his own. We're not told exactly how just yet, but he has been using his position as head of cybersecurity to steal $25 million from his employer.
I created Mr. Da Vinci so we could call in the Secret Service, so they'd arrest the hacker, seize his equipment, things that we can't do on our own.
The file Joey was copying is central to his plan, so the Plague has created a virus that could spill thousands of gallons of oil into the ocean, blaming it on Joey as a means of creating a diversion, getting the FBI to seize the files Joey has copied, and letting the hackers take the fall for his theft all in one. Of course, the rest of his friends don't know any of this and are just assuming that he was traced following a sloppy hack he pulled earlier. After a fast-paced first act, the action does start to drag a little in this section of the movie, but we do get some gems like this.
Yes, I am a criminal. My crime is that of curiosity. I am a hacker, and this is my manifesto.
This is the Hacker Manifesto, a famous prose poem from 1988. I would read it out in full here and now, but you don't watch this show for that, so instead there's a link in the description. There are lines quoted here and there throughout the whole movie, but here we have the most blatant as this detective reads out half of it. This poem come essay was a huge inspiration for this movie, and there were lines used in the publicity as well, including on posters, the website MGM used to promote the movie, and home video case when it was released. Now with the backing of the FBI, the Plague is able to track down Crash. Knowing all about his record, he tries to intimidate him into becoming an ally.
I'm sorry. Who are you?
I'm the one who understands you.
Hello, the only one who understands you. I'm Dade. That doesn't work, and Crash is invited to crash a party Case is hosting. Did anybody really have house parties like that in high school? When I was watching movies like this as a teen, I just thought it was an American thing and that British kids like me were missing out. But now I'm sure this is a huge exaggeration, and in real life your American parties were as slow and awkward as any I remember. Here we get the big reveal that is not revealing anything you weren't expecting. It all starts with our hero snooping around Kate's bedroom and admiring her laptop.
Yo, check this out, guy. This is insanely great. It's got a 28.8 BPS modem.
Yeah? Display?
Active matrix, man. A million psychedelic colors.
This would go over the head of any viewer who isn't a total computer nerd, but my old school friend assured me these are real terms for computer components and the system they were describing was indeed a highly impressive, powerful home computer for the time. Kate and her boyfriend Slick enter without noticing there's anybody else in the room, and these boys do what many lads their age are likely to do when Angelina Jolie is being undressed before their eyes, until Crash gives away their presence. But Kate soon gets over that as she demonstrates she would rather discuss her laptop than what Slick had planned. Annoying him so much he leaves. And I mean forever. Exit stage left, and that's the last we see of his character, which is really no great loss, he was so one-dimensional, and it frees her up to become part of the group.
What is she doing in here?
Relax, Burn. He's my guest.
Burn. Your acid burn. You booted me out of OTV?
Crash finally catches up with the audience, and the tension between them mounts, culminating in the gauntlet being thrown down with the ultimate stakes.
And if I win?
Make it my firstborn.
Make it our first date.
You're not gonna win.
Somehow I get the impression that's the only way Crash would ever ask a girl on a date. Cue this highly funny montage of the two of them competing at using their skills to punish Richard Gill, which is made more visually appealing by having them work in a variety of locations, because why wouldn't you crack code outside a Chinese restaurant or on top of a skyscraper?
Yeah, whatever. What's the score?
Time.
As our challenge goes into endgame, we can get on with the main plot. Plague is still trying to get Crash to help him. Joey reveals why he was really arrested, and so Freak hides his disc, and not a moment too soon.
Come on.
Not sure what this trick with the phone is about. He was allowed one call, and one call is all he makes. Still, Freak is able to make sure that the others know Joey really did get into the Gibson supercomputer, found something hot, and they are all in dead trouble as a result. Meanwhile, Plague finally manages to blackmail Crash by threatening his mother, so he hands over a copy he has of the disc, revealing just how much information the hackers have on him. And the information I have that I'm about to reveal concerns the ending of this movie, so this is the spoiler section of this review. If you haven't seen this movie yet and don't want to know how it ends, then skip to this timecode. If you're ready for the final information overload, then on we go. Crash and Burn call a truce and join Serial and Nikon, where, through the power of montage, they uncover the full truth. That the Da Vinci virus used to frame Joey and Freak was a cover for the real operation, a worm program skimming spare cents off transaction, amassing a $25 million takeout. Crash also has to reveal his past.
I got a record. I was zero cool.
Zero cool? Crashed 1,507 systems in one day?
And admits that Plague is onto them and they will surely take the fall for his actions, leaving only one solution if they are going to clear their name and prove Plague's guilt.
I'll hack the Gibson.
Dude, they'll trace you like that, man. The cops are gonna find you. They're gonna find you with a smoking gun. Jesus, I gotta save all your asses. I help. We could do it in 5 minutes, man.
Okay, let's go shopping.
This next section, showing them collecting passwords and information to prepare for the ultimate hack, certainly has its fun moments, but there's a few scenes after that just feel like filler, retreading a lot that we already know, as well as showing the Da Vinci virus being launched and arrest warrants going out for the hackers to add a sense of urgency that was already there. We also see Crash and Burn recruiting Razor and Blade, who offer to rally their fans around the world to help them out. So, next morning and finally on to the main event. The others are to slow down the Plague and the security systems by spamming the system with viruses, while Crash locates and copies the full version of the incriminating file.
Serial.
Yeah?
Go fix the phones.
Roger. You got another couple, man?
Joey, take his place.
What, me?
Yes, you, the kid who has already hacked this system once, something none of your friends have been able to do. Have some self-confidence! By now it's clear we get more graphical representation than makes sense, but we also get a lot of nonsensical jargon about the viruses and cures for them.
There's a new virus in the database.
What's happening?
It's replicating, eating up memory. What do I do?
Type cookie, you idiot.
That is definitely not going to get rid of a program that is clogging your drive with cookies. Many things are happening at once here. We have Plague playing some kind of digital whack-a-mole with the viruses hitting all over the system, Gil and his crew finding their location and coming for them, and Razor and Blade coming through with our army of hackers around the world, united in their terrible 90s hair and clothes, joining in on attacking the Gibson. The final confrontation really takes things to an absurd level as the hackers waging all-out war with the Plague, who appears to hit mental breaking point as the mainframe is fried.
Come on, you son of a bitch. Is that all you got, huh? Come on, let's see what else you can do. You talking to me? Huh?
It appears that may have all been for nothing, however, as most of the hackers are arrested and Plague seems set to escape. Luckily, Serial has evaded capture, gets hold of the file, and with the help of Razor and Blade and their illicit broadcasting equipment, goes live to the world to set the record straight.
A virus called Da Vinci that when launched would cause Ellingson mineral tankers to capsize was to be blamed on innocent hackers.
We really have thrown all sense of logic out the window at this point. Even if they didn't plant the Da Vinci virus, they were still guilty of various computer invasion charges. But nonetheless, Gil drops all their charges against them and goes after the Plague as he attempts to flee. Finally, we can't forget the contest. Seems their friends declared Crash the winner as a means to encourage them to get on with things. They go on their date, where we get a very clever callback as they end up on the rooftop swimming pool, and somehow, apparently light switches are controlled through the internet now. So that was Hackers, and well, I can fully understand why it caught the public imagination at the time, even if most of the actual hacking throughout doesn't make any sense. Truth is, the reality of the hacking world is boring and not what film audiences want to see, so we are presented with this fictionalised world of hacking, and in that respect, taken for what it is, it makes for an exciting and engaging crime thriller, but is at its best with a comedy. The performances are a mixed bag. Jonny Lee Miller is great in every way but his accent. Angelina Jolie made a big splash and shows just why her career went from strength to strength after this, this. Fisher-Stevens is regrettably flat throughout, but Matthew Lillard gives the best performance of his career. The score and artistic style cements this as very much a mid-90s time capsule, not to mention the wardrobe, and the visuals, while utterly illogical, do make the movie as a whole very visually pleasing, so overall Hackers comes in at 3 slippers and likes it. Thank you for watching. Having seen just what one person can do with a computer, I hope you'll put that into practice and click on the like button, leave a comment, share this video on your social media platform of choice, and subscribe if you haven't already for new reviews every week. I've been the Pyjama Critic, and remember, you can't copy half a file if you disconnect halfway through the download. I just can't let that one go. Most of the silliness here I can take on the chin, but that's just not how data files work!
This is accounting, sir. You inquired about an employee of ours, Agent Richard Gill?
Yes.
Our records indicate he's deceased.
What?